Continuing here. So anyhow, we moved back to Santa Cruz, and my sisters kind of emancipated themselves. So it was my mom and I living in. She got a pad that she was renting right near the beach, the cliffs. They're on West Cliff Drive in Santa Cruz, and so my dad made his way back up there, and one of the things he salvaged was a surfboard. I guess some guy, some crewmate he had left on board, and at the time I had saved my money from working on the farm in Connecticut. I bought this little Honda dirt bike, XR75. Thought I died and went to heaven. Had so much fun getting my yayas out and that thing. There was lots of fields. Later, one of them became an Intel. It was factory road. There was Lipton's and Wrigley's, and there was just a lot of factories out there. But there were big open fields to jump. There was jumps and just I had such fun time on that bike. But when he brought that surfboard, it stirred my curiosity, and I ended up buying a wetsuit. I sold the bike and bought a wetsuit, and started surfing, and boy, that was beautiful. That really changed my life a lot. Brought so much joy into my life. It's such a fun sport. I mean, if you haven't tried it, it's just great. I was lucky, I guess, under the circumstances, being near the ocean. But I've been near the ocean my whole life, so I was very, very used to being near the ocean, and being on boats and everything else with my dad. But anyhow. All this information, the internet, it's a bittersweet thing, okay? And this is what's happening, though. God is using it to his purposes, and Satan is using it to his, okay, with dissipation of time. I mean, we all know about the distractions out there, okay? I mean, guys especially, I mean, they have a really hard time, okay, with being distracted by images of beautiful women, okay? Let's just be blunt about it. Okay, they train people in the healthcare profession. I know when I went to college, I was continuing. Like I said, I missed my freshman year. You understand why I missed it. And I was continuing. My counselor told me, Dwayne Harris, said, look, if you take these classes and pass them, you'll have enough credits and I'll graduate you. So for all intents and purposes, I have a alternative diploma degree from high school because of that. I've had tons of college, I know that. I'd probably have a master's degree if I'd focused on one thing, but I've never had a problem learning anything I wanted to learn. But one of the things that they taught in this class was sex education, college level sex education. It was very explicit. I mean, it shocked me because, I mean, even having watched X-rated movies, I still had never seen anything quite that explicit. And, I mean, in the video, they're saying, hey, look, these guys are looking at images or pictures, I think they said, of nude women. I mean, this is what they teach people in college. Do you understand? I mean, that's training. Right there. I think it has everything to do with population control. I really do. Because if you got, a lot of guys, a lot more than before that were saying, hey, they take advantage. I mean, 300 years ago, there was no images. The guys, they had to have the real thing. They couldn't just fantasize looking at images. But that's a reality we have today. And that's the situation. And it's tough. It's tough for guys. It used to be, I mean, this is probably one of the reasons I didn't want to have anything to do with the internet. I mean, I didn't know consciously that was something that was really bugging me about it. But, I've learned that because I could go months and months. I don't need to see beautiful women. They're everywhere. I just need to see their pretty faces. And I'm fine. I can go months, like a camel sexually. Okay. But then the internet is like, I don't like everything about the internet. That's why I say I'm thinking about starting a support group where, hey, just a week, man. I just want a week away from my damn, because I don't own a smartphone. Because I know they've got the internet right there on their phone. Okay? I've got an antique flip phone, 14-year-old LG. LG makes a fine product. I've left that phone out in the rain. I've dropped it a billion times. I can't believe I haven't lost it. I mean, I thought I did dozens of times. I thought I've lost it. Found it. I mean, it's just, It's uncanny. It's freaky, but it works fine to this day. Original battery. So I'm sold on LG, and I bought recently one of their VCRs, a recorder, DVD player thing, and it's got it on eBay for a deal, and it's just been the best VCR I've ever owned. I use it. I mean, sometimes I don't want to watch the blues, evening blues, I call the news, mainstream media. Hey, I'll tape it, or some whatever. Maybe I want to save a show and savor it later. So there's different purposes I use it. It's just handy. I don't have to set a digital thing and all that. It's enough I got to dink around the digital box and then to set the timer on the VCR and all that stuff. But I like to be able to do things in my. I mean, if some, like when JFK was assassinated, and I was a little boy, and people didn't have to wait to hear it on the radio or on the TV, okay, because people were coming out of their houses. I was living in Manhattan Beach, Southern California, and I remember the weeping and the wailing, people coming out of their house. This was a beloved president. And you know who I believe was behind that? Who had every motive in the world? Cui bono. Okay, look, it's a matter of fact that JFK was in the process of eliminating the Federal Reserve. He had already gone as far as circulating. Do you understand? He had already introduced a new dollar. The American people had no problem with this new dollar. They liked it. It was obvious. They were preferring it. They were running them both at the same time. There, do you understand? They were U.S. Treasury notes, silver-backed notes, silver-backed dollars, silver-backed certificates. That's what money is, right? JFK was a true capitalist, okay? Do you think I care about his party? That's why I don't mention it. I mean, it's so stupid. I don't care. I mean, Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. JFK was a Democrat. They're both good American presidents, great American presidents. I mean, I hope to see a guy like JFK on the other side. And Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King Jr., those are the people I want to hang with. I mean, when we come into this world, right, there's people all around us, right? I think it's the same way when we leave this world. We're going to have the kind of people around us that we deserve to have. God's no dummy, man. The one thing God isn't, it's stupid. He knows what he's doing. He knows what to do. I mean, but you take this cop that killed this guy, this George Floyd guy. Okay, that cop. I mean, what's he gonna? If there is reincarnation, okay, that guy is coming back as a black man. Okay, you understand why God would do that? You didn't learn. You're a murderous racist. That's what you are. You're a murderous racist. And God's got to do something to really help it sink into your head. It's not okay to be a murderous racist. It's not okay to be a racist. It's the most un-American, anti-egalitarian forms of discrimination. I mean, it's just not fair. I understand you say, well, there's a trend and, they're behaving this way. And, like you lump the whole group together. But we're all individuals. With the measure you judge others, you too shall be judged. So when you just make brash generalizations and rationalize, say, well, it's people of this color they're this way, and I heard this from a reliable source, and this person that. Hey, listen, we can all be tempted into that crap because this color of my skin is superior. I'm better. What do you think God watches your heart and mind, man. It's repugnant. You've got to see people as individuals, love them as individuals. Okay, just follow the commands of God. I know that goes against, well, I just taught to follow the laws of man. They all matter. But I mean, I'm going to talk later about the frivolity of the laws of man. I mean, just tax laws. Look at the age of consent laws. Okay, I mean, it's legal for a 13-year-old to get married in Missouri. Okay, the age of consent in California is 18. But in 5 years from now, can you tell me? Are the laws going to change and it's going to be okay for 13-year-olds to marry 50-year-old men? I don't know. For all I know, it's possible. I mean, stranger things have happened through history. Drug laws, too. You see them changing constantly. I'm just mentioning a few. And yeah, I did my own research. I found out that a child can buy rat poison. Okay, so education is the answer. You want to destroy your health in short order, then do cocaine. Do methamphetamine. Do heroin. You would kill yourself? I mean, we can't stop you. We can't make a law against that that's going to have any teeth. I mean, you self-destructive behavior. But why don't we talk about what's bugging you, right? This is what I try to get into. is help people to identify what's bugging them, to separate it, to understand there's a slew of organic reasons to be bugged. And and they bug me, and I complain, I bitch and moan all day long. I talk to the Lord because He's the only one that can take those things away. The things I'm talking about affect everybody across the board. The diseases, the ailments, okay, death at the very top of that list. Okay, insects that can sting you and kill you, arachnids that can do the same, snakes, okay, all sorts of animals, natural disasters, the heat, the cold. I mean, that's just to name a few of the organic things. Thorns on roses, aphids on rosebuds, sucking the juices dry, sucking the life out of it so that rose will never bloom. That's satanic, man. You understand? I think it's tit for tat. People say, oh, the bats are so valuable and we got to protect the bats. Well, maybe God created the bats for a purpose, but He could create a dozen other birds if you're worried about them going extinct ever to eat up the mosquitoes because, yes, they serve a very valuable function in the ecology. I'm just putting it out there. We didn't do this. We didn't create all this flora and fauna. We must remember who owns us rightfully. Pay homage to Him, homage and respect Him, revere Him, fear Him in that sense. Have great, profound love for God above all else because He created the universe and everything contained therein, all the flora, all the fauna. He gave you your five senses. Everything good you've ever enjoyed in your whole life, God gave you that gift of life. Free will choice, okay? But this is also a double-edged sword. It's a bittersweet thing. This is where it went wrong. It's like the internet. Okay, there's all these distractions, and God knows. I mean, addiction, yes, it's like an addiction. An addiction, yeah, I want to see images of beautiful women. Yeah, I mean, I admit. They're beautiful. I mean, that's God's creation. They make me praise God. I mean, what can I say? I'm a single man. I mean, I got no woman to even be jealous of looking at images. So, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough for all guys, even married guys. I mean, even in the churches, purportedly the vast majority of the preachers out there have this issue. I mean, hell, who should be surprised when they're teaching it in college to behave this way, that this is a 100% A-OK behavior. It's totally normal, guys. Just do what you got to do. You're certainly not going to find a woman that's going to want as much sex as you want. So even if you're married, this is the paradigm. So get used to it. Get comfortable with it. Suck it up. Because, I mean, what guy in the world doesn't wish that, hey, I wish that I never learned this skill, if that's what you want to call it. We're going to blame God. Well, God, why didn't you give me claws instead of these nice smooth fingers that work so well? I mean, and the ladies could say the same thing, right? There's ladies too. I mean, I can't forget that it's not just exclusively a men's issue, that I got to remember that women can have these issues too. But to me, they're a lot more sophisticated, mature about it than men. I think men are much more indulgent, and it's kind of the natural, it's the nature of the beast of the man. Everybody knows the male of the species. I mean, look in nature. I mean, the only reasons humans can't rape each other is because we have that free will choice. And we say, no, that's immoral, that's unethical, it's ungodly. You cannot force yourself on a woman. And a guy in his right mind says, yeah, I don't want to violate. I want a woman to feel safe with me. Okay, she can sleep with me right next to me. I'm not going to take advantage of her. I'm not going to violate her. I'm going to respect her. End of story. That's who I choose to be. That's the man I choose to be. Okay, a man that doesn't violate women. Every guy can choose to be the kind of man he wants in regard to how he thinks of a woman and how he speaks to a woman, how he treats a woman with utmost respect. You got to see her as God, literally. I mean, that's what makes God whole and powerful. Remember, it was the unity between the male and the female that brought us here. This intoxicating creature that God made, it's crowning glory. Okay, this is it. This is it. It's the female, and who can deny it? So it's just one of those things. You've got to learn an iota of self-control. That might take a long time, and But God never gives up. When we turn to God, He'll see us through all this stuff. So at the end of the day, okay, to break this down, the internet is bringing the information of the ages to everybody's fingertips. So we're all without excuse to be ignorant, to be stupid, to be confused. It's of our own free will and accord, our own choice to be stupid, to be ignorant, to be confused. So you could say, well, it hurts my head, and I had to think about all that heavy stuff. And, I prescribe to an ignorance is bliss philosophy. So, bye, I'm divorcing myself from you. You see, and then people forget about the scientific principle of osmosis, how we're getting this. All the policemen, all the law enforcement in America are getting a heavy dose of that scientific principle of osmosis at this moment. That's why I feel sorry for these people.